So, in last week's crypto market, it seems that we have entered a consolidation phase in Bitcoin, and from here we could see potential movements to the upside with an inverse Bart pattern or potential moves to the downside with a following bear flag. It seems that altcoins have taken advantage over these consolidations because they have earned a lot in the past couple weeks. Even though there is not enough fundamentals, it seems that technically speaking they could still earn more. And in last week's crypto news, US SEC halts on ton launch, another Bitcoin ETF is rejected, there are some tax updates on crypto, and Cardano founder explains how Bitcoin affects the current industry. So if you're curious about this, just chill and keep watching. Hello everyone, how's it going? My name is Patrick and welcome back to the Cheeky Entrepreneur. So guys, is this gonna be a bear flag or is it just accumulation? Just before going into more details with the bearish and the bullish sentiment, I want to highlight how in Bitcoin a lot of times we get into these accumulation phases or these rather consolidations, and clearly we can see that we are in one of them right now. And even though it's pretty evident what can happen, of course either the price goes up or the price goes down. And I want to highlight, guys, because yes, of course it's pretty obvious that either the price goes up or down, but every time we have this consolidation we have a good movement to either the upside or the downside. Here we can see that after that consolidation the price went back up, and the same is true for the next movement in here. If we take a look again, after that movement to the upside there was again another consolidation phase, and what did the price do? Continue going back up. And guys, I mean, this is just how it is. Even when we are actually topping in the price here as well, we exhausted, we kind of started this consolidation phase around here, and then what did the price do? Actually went back down. And here the same, we actually enter a consolidation phase and then the price went up. So in my point of view, guys, this consolidation phase will either make a Bart up to the upside to meet some resistance around here, or will be a continuation and making actually a bear flag to the downside. But let's go a little bit deeper into the price action to see what could be potentially more possible in this scenario, because first of all, I have already told you guys the EMAs are bearish. Of course, the EMAs are not only going down, they are starting to cross each other to the downside, and this could provide huge resistance. I mean, it's just not a coincidence here that the price when it met support and went back up, where was it stopped? It was stopped by the 20 EMA that we have been talking about several times in this channel. Also supporting these bearish sentiments, again, if we take a look at the stochastics went all the way from the oversold to the overbought right now, and again, this means that generally the momentum to the upside is over, so we could potentially see some movement to the downside. And of course, if we were to actually try to process a target, if this was an actual bear flag and we just extrapolate the pole from there and just put it to the top of the flag, we obtain that the price could dump all the way to around this level. And it's not, again guys, this is not a coincidence that it's one of the main support boxes around 6,000, and we know that that should be theoretically a very strong support, as it has been in the past, because once we broke it we actually went all the way down to 3,000. So I would be expecting that if this were to break to the downside, we would actually meet some support there. But now guys, not everything is really that bad in reality. If you take a look at the bullish side, it's actually quite surprising. First of all, we did find a lot of support in here in this 7.7k thousand threshold. I think we not only went once, we did a double bottom, and then we did this triple bottom and we actually went back up. And to be honest, I was actually quite surprised. I thought it would have been more logical to actually go to the downside, so I did close some of the shorts that I have from up here, just in case that this was actually a bear flag with a more wider box like here right now. But in any case guys, also what I did see is that we were actually developing this bullish divergence. I actually think that the technical term is exaggerated divergence, because the price did not continue going back down, but what it did is establish around the same price, while of course in the RSI it started going up. So in the end, that's a bullish thing, and the price went back up. So I wouldn't doubt if this again still tries to bar up, guys. We have this resistance here. I think that's gonna be very interesting if we do very good opportunities to actually short from there, but also very good opportunities to actually short around here if it's an actual bear flag. So very interesting opportunities right now. Well, in any case, guys, let's head into the 4-hourly chart, because it has been a very interesting, at least in my opinion, because this is pure price action. It's price action at its finest. And I have highlighted before how I usually try to trade these ranges, these supply and demand boxes, or more than these resistance and support boxes. And here's no difference. Of course, the last thing that I said is that we were entering in this consolidation, and this box, the support box, was kind of awkward because we actually broke to the downside, and that's what I was expecting the price to actually reach this next box, which it didn't. But I did highlight in other videos that whenever the price is not actually reaching that target, it's actually quite bullish, and that's one of the reasons that I did close some of my shorts around here. And the reason is because previously we have not even been able to go all the way down here, because if it was so, then we would have retested that support, and as we have discussed before, the more you retest the support, the more likely it's to break to the downside. But in any case, guys, we saw that the price actually went back up from here, and I mean, again, it's not coincidence that where it retraced, of course, it was this next resistance box. Actually, that would have been a very good trade. What I usually try to do is to trade around at the middle of the resistance in this area. I did have a short around 9,000, but the price did not go all the way up there. But of course, clearly it was a good opportunity to short, and maybe we still can see that the price actually goes back up. That's why I'm really not relying on a bearish short right now, but I'm still gonna be waiting to see if the price actually goes up, and if not, if it goes down, we'll try to catch that to the downside. And guys, to be honest, the price action and the technical analysis during this past week, it's very still, because there has not been a lot of movement. We have been in this consolidation phase, but clearly the big winners, at least in Bitcoin terms, of course, have been altcoins. And I have discussed previously how we did break this 20 EMA and what could the impact be of there. And we see that after the first time it broke to the downside, we tested this support box, went back up, retested this 20 EMA, and down we went once again. So not only we had that breakdown from the 20 EMA, we also have this bearish crush that I have been talking about. So technically speaking, we are very bearish in terms of the Bitcoin dominance. So that means that altcoins could really have a good opportunity to take advantage of this. I mean, and additionally, we have been talking about this support box that could have been the real support for the Bitcoin dominance to go back up once again. I mean, once it dropped here, we saw that it held very good support, and the Bitcoin dominance actually went back up. But once it went back down, it actually broke to the downside, and it's very interesting to see how old support becomes new resistance, because once it broke to the downside and then the price tried to go back up, we started finding some resistance again. Now guys, here, I mean, with altcoins, it's extremely difficult to know what is really gonna happen, because I don't doubt that this could still go up. I mean, at least in Bitcoin terms, we could see the altcoins bleed once more. And the reason is that even though technically speaking, and I did mention this in my past video, even though that technical showed that the price might continue to the downside, fundamentally speaking, I don't think they have enough grounds, at least right now, to compete against Bitcoin. And there has been a lot of FIAT news out there. There has been a lot of fear, of uncertainty, doubt regarding cryptocurrencies, regarding Bitcoin. And it seems that, again, when Bitcoin becomes cheaper, the altcoins take advantage of this. Well, in any case, in terms of altcoins, I think we are actually gonna have to wait. I am actually shorting here XRP. It's very interesting. Well, here it seems that it could be a rising wedge, generally speaking, and as I've told you before, even kind of a little bit combined with the Elliott wave theory. Usually we have three let's say touches or three tests of the rising wedges or the descending wedges before breaking to the downside, and that's the reason that I'm still on this short in XRP. Again, fundamentally speaking, it doesn't make a lot of sense of a lot of these altcoins actually going back up in this way. I think it's very greedy to keep buying right now, but of course there's very good opportunities, and of course we have been seeing that the altcoins have been basically depleted all this time along, so it wouldn't surprise me if they continue to go back up. But in any case, if you take a look at the individual altcoins, for instance here, what I see is of course a bearish divergence forming here in the RSI. The price keeps moving, a rising wedge. For me, that's enough technicals to want to take a short. And of course guys, this is not financial advice. Whatever you do, only make sure that you have your stop losses set, and as I told you, it's more about the risk management. It's more about really stopping your losses and trying to let your trade run. So even if this comes to the upside, I will set, well, I do have my stop loss around there just in case, guys, and this is just how it is in trading. So guys, during last week's crypto news there was a lot of thought. The SEC was back at a lot of things, so let's check them out. US SEC helped Stone launch over 1.7 billion ICO. Late Friday, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission announced that it is suing two offshore entities, Telegram and its wholly owned subsidiary Ton Issuer, for holding an unregistered token sale. According to the complaint filed in the Federal District Court in Manhattan on the same day, Telegram sold approximately 2.9 billion crypto tokens called grams to 171 buyers for a total of $1.7 billion. Around a quarter of that sum, 424.5 million, allegedly belonged to 31 purchasers based in the US. Telegram responded with the following: "Due to the increased level of regulatory uncertainty, we take a break to analyze new information and adapt our policies. Ton board will be with you again once we have more clarity on the legal status of the Ton and gram, as well as permitted type of analysis that may be published on them. We are looking forward to sharing more information with you as soon as possible." And in all honesty guys, I think this it's very difficult to have an opinion on this, because for one side I think it's good that at least ICOs, at least these kind of things, are being regulated, because it does protect the investor in some regards. Of course, I'm not very keen on how investments work in the US, because if it's in the end it's your money and you should be able to do whatever you want with it, and that's again one of the reasons why Bitcoin is decentralized and why you should be able to have control over your assets, over your property, or in this case over your financials. But in any case guys, I think it's very important for companies and for platforms to stay compliant with current legislations, and I think this is a good thing, at least with Ton. If they are indeed serious about their project, they will try their best to actually comply with legislations. US SEC rejects Bitwise Bitcoin ETF proposal. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission has rejected a proposal to list a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund. In an announcement on October 9, the Commission stated that the ETF filing from Bitwise Asset Management and NYSE Arca did not meet the necessary requirements. Specifically, regulators stated that applicants did not meet the necessary requirements regarding possible market manipulation and illicit activities, the SEC wrote. The Commission is disapproving this proposed rule change because, as discussed below, NYSE Arca has not met its burden under the Exchange Act and the Commission Rule of Practice to demonstrate that its proposal is consistent with the requirements of Exchange Act Section 6b5, and in particular the requirement that the rules of a national securities exchange be designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and practices. And guys, I think this is one of the most difficult challenges, at least for ETFs, for Bitcoin ETFs, and the reason is because we have mentioned it before. this is not a very liquid market when you compare it to the bigger markets like Forex, like the stock exchange. It's nothing right now in comparison to those. And of course, this is a problem because if you have a Bitcoin ETF, theoretically speaking, you could dump money or you could pump money from another side, and you would really affect the market, and that would directly affect the investors of these ETFs. And of course, since these ETFs want to be approved in the US and they want to be regulated, this is a concern for the SEC, and this is why, and one of the reasons that it's gonna be very challenging to have an ETF, but I don't think it's gonna be impossible at all. US IRS adds question on crypto usage to new income tax form draft. The United States Internal Revenue Service have added a question on crypto ownership to the standard 1040 income tax form for the coming tax season. On October 11, a draft of the additional income and adjustment to income section of the new 1040 form surfaced that include a change was made to the additional income and adjustments to income section. On the new 1040 form, the additional question reads: at any time during 2019, did you receive, sell, send, exchange, or otherwise acquire any financial interest in any virtual currency? The question expects a straightforward yes or no with no additional details requested. And guys, of course, where there's huge gains to be made, there's a lot of interest, and not only in part of for regulatory reasons, but also tax purposes. And we know that when it comes to tax, the US is one of the most harsh countries in this regard. But of course, this is very important for the rest of the world, because if they lead with an example of how they are taxing, a lot of other countries might follow suit. But in any case, guys, as more adopted Bitcoin becomes, as more adoption comes into the industry, we will start seeing more regulatory concerns, or we are gonna start seeing more changes in this regard. So this is something that's very expected, and we will have to take a look at what's going on in the future. If Bitcoin fails, crypto industry in for a bad time. Cardano founder. Ethereum co-founder turned Cardano creator Charles Hoskinson believes that if Bitcoin fails, the entire cryptocurrency industry could fail. During the interview, Hoskinson reflected on Bitcoin's origins, the parameters they set for subsequent projects so the Bitcoin maximalism, and how Bitcoin's future survival is intimately bound up with the fate of the entire industry. One of the biggest problems with Bitcoin, he began, is that it's blind, deaf, and dumb, and that was by design. Conversely, Bitcoin was never intended to replicate the world financial system and also be fully compliant with that system. This was not in its scope. Bitcoin, frankly, is the brand of cryptocurrencies. We can say, oh, I'm going to succeed, but Bitcoin will fail. If Bitcoin fails, the whole industry probably in for a really bad time. And guys, I do totally agree with this. It's not easy to have an altcoin that will stand up with Bitcoin, and the reason is because, as well, this is the name of the industry. Bitcoin is what represents most of it, because not only was the first one, but it's the most resilient as of now. Now, of course, it's not perfect by any means. There's still a lot of questions. We have discussed this. Even though it's centralized and transparent, there's still some concerns regarding this as well. And to be honest, in the future, it's gonna be very interesting to see if actually there's an altcoin that is actually gonna take the place of Bitcoin. As of right now, I think most of the projects are not up to the tasks because there is not really that kind of adoption, and also they have not represented solution to a lot of the problems that even Bitcoin cannot solve. Well, in any case, guys, thank you for watching this video, and if you like the content, and only if you did, mind subscribing and also push that like button. And just as usual, guys, I would like to remind you all, stay smart, stay bold, but most important of all, stay cheeky. Take care, guys.